Good evening, everybody. Is there an echo? Good evening, everybody. Everybody in the last 42 rows has to move up to the first 10. So says Father Carroll. All right. Welcome to Stonebridge's annual meeting this year, February 23rd. The hour of 5 o'clock having arrived, we will now start and call the meeting to order. I'm going to immediately give this to Dan Graziano for the notice of a quorum.
This meeting being held today was, the notice was posted on January 19th in accordance with the corporation's bylaws, and in addition, notice was mailed to our members by email and in a hard copy in some cases. And I can certify that, Mr. President, that as of noon today, we had received 278 proxies, which is 38 more than the 240 we need, so we do have a quorum for this meeting this evening.
Thank you, Dan. All right. Now that we have a quorum, everyone should have received electronically and/or as you walk through the door the minutes for February 24th of 2021 and for November 24th of 21. And we need a motion to approve those minutes from anyone. Okay, Charlie, thank you. And a second? All right, thank you. Since this is a members' meeting, everyone can vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes for February 24th of 21 and November 24th of 21, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Right, very good, thank you. Tim, I'm going to introduce Tim Jones now. You may know him. I think he's called the general manager. It's been a while. So he will give us an update and then introduce Jeff Dunner.
All right, so we wanted to give an update on the renovation planning and where we are right now. Jeff Nunner is our owner's rep. He's going to be going over the facilities plan, so I wanted to touch briefly on the golf course renovation and where we are right now with that. So Kip Schultes, as you all know, is our golf course architect. So we've contracted with him for the next phase of work, which is to take us through the development and execution of the plan. Currently, we're meeting with Kip monthly as we work our way through the process. We've already secured the grass for the golf course, bimini for basically the whole golf course except for the greens, which will be Tiff Eagle. And that's important because we've already heard that grasses for projects in 2023 are already sold out at the farms. So we've already secured our grass and have deposits down. We're starting to engage the services of different services that we need to get through the next phase, which includes civil engineer, soil borings, bathmatic surveys, irrigation design, and topography. So some of those things are already engaged. The others, we're working with Kip on getting proposals right now as we speak. So everything is progressing on the golf course side. It's a little bit more of an accelerated schedule than a typical year because of the amount of activity happening in 2023. Typically, projects go to bid in the fall for projects that occur in the next spring and summer. In this case, we're actually moving that schedule up about 5 months based on the advice of Kip because of the number of projects in 2023. So that's where we are in the golf course renovation. Now I'd like to introduce Jeff Nunner. He's our owner's rep. So Jeff, if you'd like to give us an update on the facilities. Come on up.
I don't know. I get a microphone. So we've assembled our design team for the facilities project. Our design teams include an architect, mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, an interior designer, civil engineer, landscape architect, kitchen consultant, pool consultant, fitness consultant, and a geotechnical consultant. So as you can see, it's a pretty extended design team that we're coordinating with to build on the plans that the facility subcommittee completed at the end of last year. Those plans were what we call schematic design. At this point, we're proceeding with design development documents. We're about 50% completed with those documents. We expect those to be completed in the next 2 to 3 weeks. At that point, we'll go back to some of our general contractor partners that have been helping us with budgets throughout this process and get a budget check on the construction costs based on those design development documents. The club will have 2 to 3 weeks also to look at those design development documents and give their approval so that we can then move on to construction documents. Those documents will be used for permitting and for final bidding. So that's the architectural side of the project. The other design side is the civil engineering or the site plan side of the project. We've engaged Grady Minor Engineers as our civil engineer. We've had a pre-application meeting last week with Collier County, so that allows us to submit for our site development plan amendment, which we're working on right now. So we're coordinating the site work with the architectural building footprints to come up with our site plan that we'll submit to the county. That's really, that's our design update. Our budget will be updated based on, like I said, our contractor pricing based on our design development documents. There's a lot of other costs that we're tracking with the project, including the furniture, fixture, and accessory allowance, all the contractor and consultant contracts that we monitor on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Jeff's going to stick around for the rest of the meeting, so if there's questions at the end, he'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Now I guess I'm going to introduce Dave Harper, who will introduce our auditor and give us the financial update.
Thank you, Jim. And I'm in charge of this, so if I mess it up, it's all my fault. Right? Here, I'll give it to you. You can. So before I get into the treasurer's report, I just wanted to first introduce the partner who is the engagement partner for our audit for our fiscal 21. And he's going to give a report on the audit for this year. And for many of you, you probably can't read that bio, so I'll just very quickly give you a short, if you can't, I can't make it any bigger. Phil's extensive experience spans over 30 years in public accounting. He is the national industry leader for RSM's private club practice. And over the years, we've used and leaned on Phil and RSM for a lot more than just audit. We have used Phil and his team to advise and counsel on a myriad of issues, including things like PPP regulations, ERC regulations. Yeah, I know I'm throwing acronyms out there. That's just accept it. Industry benchmark data, education programs, and the list goes on. Think about the questions that you might have for Phil before he gets away after his report. So Phil, welcome, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Dave. It's awesome when the president wishes you good luck as you're about to start. Like I said to him, it was so obvious. This is his last meeting. Never seen someone so happy. But and he did reveal that he is Irish, so I'm going to take all the shots I can while I'm up here. It's an absolute pleasure to be back with Stonebridge. I've been working with you guys on and off, but pretty much since 2006, I think, Tim, is when I came down here. You saw the bio, lots and lots of words. I only work in the private club space. For those of you that don't know us, we work with about 200 clubs in the state of Florida, about another 130 around the country. I'm based here in the Naples office, so most of my remit is certainly in this neck of the woods. I do cross the state when I absolutely have to, even if I don't really want to. So, but that's okay. It's always nice to be home here in Naples. And again, be back here. Any of you that have come to the last probably couple, I think, Tim, that were live annual meetings, probably saw much. You're probably looking at me and saying, man, he got old. Because I was one of my very young and much more handsome partners, I think, addressed your meeting the last couple of years. He also had a beard. So anyway, he certainly wasn't as funny as me, even if he was better looking. But anyway, to hit the highlights, guys, obviously we completed your audit. It's a really good, robust process. I will have to tell you, working with Dave and your finance committee, and all the finance committees, I'd say, over the years here has been great. They really take the role seriously, ask great questions, and really get involved and look hard at the financials and obviously the draft financials that we give them as part of the audit. And then we issue, obviously, the financial statements. So you'll see, if you've taken a look, it is a clean, unmodified audit opinion, which is obviously what you want. You didn't have any changes in accounting policies. It wasn't an unusual year. There were no unusual transactions. And we did not have any disagreements with management during the year about accounting issues. And certainly would echo Dave's comments. Our best clients, from our perspectives, are the ones that talk to us during the year. And Tim, thank you. You're always great about reaching out whenever you need help of any kind that we can hopefully help you with. So when you look at your financials themselves, I think you finished the year in a very strong financial position, a good, strong balance sheet. Your total assets went up about 5%. Your total fund balances went up about 9.3%, which is excellent, continuing to move that number forward. And you ended the year with about $2.8 million in the replacement fund. Your total debt levels, which includes capital leases, about $1,800 per door, which is right in line with what we're seeing. We do a lot of benchmarking. So a lot of the bundled community clubs in Southwest Florida, you're kind of right in line with that. Operationally, you'll see operations before depreciation had a positive of about $375,000. Now, in that number, there was about $349,000 of the PPP grant, if you will, that got bled in this year. But if you back that out, operations was pretty much break even, about $25,000. And if you look at your cash flow statement, cash from operations actually was just over $300,000. Your dues are about 69% of your operating revenue, which is a very healthy level. And I can tell you that clubs, sometimes people say, oh, that number's too high. The clubs that number was a lot lower in COVID were the ones that really struggled. They were the ones that the members had to put their hands in their pockets and deal with operating assessments and things like that. So, keeping that 65 to 70% range, that's kind of where, what we see as kind of a healthy community and a healthy club overall. When I look at your payroll dollars and things like that, again, very, very consistent. About 52%, I think, of your total operating expenses go towards payroll. And should I talk about food and beverage, Tim? Am I allowed to talk about food and beverage here? You won't believe this. I've got 2 clients that have flat out told me, don't talk about booze at our annual meeting. And yesterday I was at Dave, maybe if you're sticking around for another year in the finance committee, I was at a finance committee meeting yesterday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Let's just say I was just a little bit north of here, and I looked at the one member who had a little clinking glass, and I'm like, what is that? Water, whiskey, whiskey. And apparently he defended it by saying it was 5 p.m. in Newfoundland. I kid you, you couldn't make this stuff up. That's how I put my day in. Your food and beverage subsidy, and that's the word we use because like every amenity, it is subsidized at 160%, is actually about 12 percentage points lower than what we've seen in the trends for the last year. So I think that's certainly positive. It's been a tricky thing with all the COVID issues, obviously, that you're dealing with. But now that Tim has taken the handcuffs off me and what I can and cannot say, everybody just wants to know, how do we do from a beverage consumption? And Tim's like, it was great when Ryan did the presentations, but they didn't run to the bar after, like they did after you finished speaking, Phil. So I'll do what I can here, but yeah, you guys might have a problem actually as I look at this. So the first important thing to say is you have 799 doors, you know that. The average community we benchmark you guys against actually is a bit bigger, it's 990 doors. Well, apparently you guys really feel that you need to punch above your weight when it comes to drinking. When I looked at your beverage consumption last year, it averages about $480 per door, and the average is $352. Now, Mr. Treasurer, I'm not really a numbers guy, but I calculated that's 36% higher. So that takes out anyone saying to Tim, no, it's because you charge me. There is no way that Tim could charge you 36% more in the price. So this is clearly a consumption issue. Look, it's nice to joke about it, but it is, it makes it a lot easier for these guys to manage your food and beverage operation. People come and enjoy themselves and have a cocktail, and I think that's important. So that's, I just wanted to stop there with regards to how you did last year. And then you see the last bullet point we have up here is industry trends and challenges, and I'm sure this will be talked about. I'm sure it's been talked about throughout the year and what's going on. And a lot of this you probably know, but I will kind of re-emphasize, the big trends. You guys are doing what other people are doing. You're not the only one doing major construction projects, what Tim was talking about. I know Kip Schultes very well. Heard him speak at a number of meetings of mutual clients, and yeah, it's incredible when you hear those grass statistics and how far out you're kind of having to look there. And again, we are seeing, clubs continue to invest in the clubhouse and the amenities and things like that. And you probably all know that from friends that are living at other communities. And I think obviously looking at things like outdoor dining, all those kind of things, casual dining are what we're seeing. Yes, there's challenges with construction, with the supply chain issues. Those continue. And obviously we are dealing with inflation going through there as well. The biggest thing will continue to be, and always will be, I think, labor. One of the big things, a lot of our clubs all across the state of Florida use foreign labor, H-2Bs and J-1 visas for temporary staff. They are coming back. For a while, we couldn't get them into the country, but it's still not coming in at the pace that a lot of those clubs would typically have recruited people, which means what? They're going after your people, right? They're going after experienced staff all over the state. And then with that comes housing. So we're seeing clubs of all types look at solving the housing problem because you can't get the 6-month rentals anymore that you would have for these staff. So these are the challenges that we're certainly seeing going on in the club world. But, how do you solve that? And we can talk till we're blue in the face about, raising pay and all that sort of stuff. I guarantee you, because I speak at all these meetings and I see all these clubs, the best thing and the best solution for you guys for staffing issues are the people that are in this room and the people that are watching online. Okay, you want your employees to be net promoters of your community as a place to work, right? Number one, we always were told, and it's true, the best way to get new members are the current members, telling people about what an awesome place this is to come and live and enjoy. It's the same thing, and it's more important now than ever. So treat your employees well. And it doesn't cost us a nickel to smile and try and be as pleasant as we can, despite all the things that we're all dealing with. And I can tell you for a fact that you see it in all the statistics. That's what employees want. That makes the difference. You pay them, yes, what a fair wage is, but if you can make them happy to come to work and they're not regretting getting up in the morning, then I guarantee you that's the best thing you can do in terms of managing the labor challenges that are going on here right now. The biggest challenge that every club is facing right now is the price of potatoes has gone up 53% since January of 2021. I don't know, Tim, I might have to come back and check out this St. Patrick's Day event to see how you're handling that. But those are my prepared remarks. We really like working with Tim and your board and your finance committee, and I think that's probably the best thing that I can say from my perspective. And I will stop talking now, Mr. Harper. And should I ask for questions? Do you want me to ask? Or? All right. Anybody got any questions that I can try and avoid? No? Okay. Well, we're available all year long, as your team here knows. It is an absolute pleasure to work with you guys. We're very excited to see what it's going to look like when it's all done here, for sure. And enjoy your meeting. Enjoy your club. Thank you.
It's always hard following that guy because my accent isn't quite as fun to listen to. I'm going to take a little bit different approach to the treasurer's report. And if I address this right, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the last 4 years because we are venturing into the next phase of financing and banking relationships, and so that we need to look at ourselves through the lens of the potential lenders. So my report is going to be pretty much focused on looking at out over the 4 years that we've, not just the one that Phil just talked about for 21. So my report provides a look back and basically we'll look at the historical financial performance to demonstrate how the lenders look at us. From month to month, and yearly, we tend to focus on the current period that we are in, and we gloss over the important comparable financial trends and performance data from other periods. So this historical trend data of our financial performance and position is important to the board and to the members as it is to the lenders. So as we start the funding and the financing process and approach the banks to achieve the best terms for this club, other than our current bank, none of them know anything about us. So we need to demonstrate we are financially sound, strong, and have a solid fiscal management and policies in place. And in order to do that, we have to look back, just like they do. They look back 4 years using the audited financial statements. Since we budget to a break-even and operate as a not-for-profit, profits are not what they're looking for, though they want to see that we can consistently achieve a break-even or a small surplus from our budget. They also want to see that we have the appropriate level of fees to cover the debt service, and they will be mostly focused on our balance sheet, which measures our financial position, our strength, and ability to handle the debt load. So that's the numbers that you see in front of you, is basically where we've been over the last 4 years. And as you look at the balance sheet, what they see and what we see is that cash has grown steadily through the years. There's no wild swings. The operating cash is up about $300,000 from where it was 4 years ago. The reserve has increased $1 million from about 4 years ago. Our property and equipment shows a $1 million decline over 4 years, which is a natural aging process. Given that, one, we have annual depreciation expense, which brings down the net book value each year. And number two, we have had no significant or major additions since the last renovation in 2013. So the total debt has declined $1.2 million naturally as we pay down the existing debt, which terms in February of next year. So the resulting impact of our better cash position and lower debt combined with achieving our budget or better has resulted in a $1.4 million improvement in equity over these past 4 years. These are all good trends, and these are showing a steady progression on our balance sheet, and it reflects well with lenders, and it reflects well for members as well. So switching gears to the operations, These numbers you can see that while revenues have only increased 3.3% over the last 4 years, management has done a fantastic job keeping expenses in check by holding a similar low increase of 3.6% over those same 4-year period. I am showing on this slide the bottom line, what it would look like without the grant revenue, because that demonstrates to lenders how operations truly performed. So as you see, with the exception of 2020, the club has met or slightly exceeded the budgeted break even. As for 2020, the start of the COVID, which hit us about mid-year 2020, you have heard exhausting explanations of what happened that year. You've heard about PPP, you've heard about grant revenue, and I'm not going to go there again. So unless there are questions about that, I think we've discussed that in great detail. The next slide shows our statistics during that 4-year period. So when you look at the statistics year over year, you can see how it demonstrates the impact of COVID on our club. Certainly the indoor activities, including or mostly food and beverage, took a precipitous 37% fall in meal covers, while the outside golf activities had a naturally precipitous upward 6.5% increase in golf rounds played. Again, lenders will want to see the data that accompanies all the revenue and the expense pieces that you saw as it relates to our bottom line, independent of the benefit of the grant revenue. As I said before, since we budget to break even and operate as a not-for-profit, it's not profits they're looking at, it's how do we consistently achieve or exceed our break-even budget, even with the fluctuation in member utilization. Other key factors besides the financial numbers that the banks are looking at are the lenders will be focusing on the governance model, the board selection process, and the strength and support of our board members. They will review our long-range strategic planning process over these past several years, and they clearly want to be assured of member support of our long-range plans, and they do and have wanted to see what the vote results were, which were resounding, and tell the story. So let me focus back on 2021 for a second, because after each year, there's always the question, depending on surplus or loss, will there be an assessment or will there be a refund? So let me answer that question. At the risk of being Captain Obvious for a moment, since there is a reported $375,000 surplus, $26,000 of that comes from operations, the other $349,000 from grant revenue, there obviously is no need for a member assessment. The total surplus for 2021 will be put aside into the risk mitigation fund as voted on at the last board meeting. As for those wondering why not a refund, that is not an option for two reasons. One is it has been the established policy and practice of the board over the past several years to bank the surplus from operations into reserves. But number two, the majority of the 2021 surplus was generated from grant revenue. For obvious reasons, it would be inappropriate to refund those dollars back to our members. So, one of the other questions that has been raised that I didn't plan on talking about, but since we were talking about where we are status-wise with the golf course and with the facilities renovation, people want to know where are we on the financing piece? Well, we're talking to the banks, and we're talking early, and expecting to get to an answer earlier than later, but we have multiple banks we've had discussions with, and so that part is in process. And I believe we'll be getting closer to that process over the next month. So let me summarize. I'll keep this short.
Keep going.
Our financials are strong and provide the right historical trends with steady progression on our balance sheet and consistently meeting or beating our budgets. And this reflects well with potential lenders, and it should reflect well with us as well. Management and the board continues to instill the fiscal discipline to maintain our club's strong and healthy financial position. And then although COVID-19 is still with us, vaccines, medical advancements, and continued members' patience and cooperation keeps our club vibrant and successful. We can and will move beyond this and return to fuller enjoyment as we all continue to work to support our goals to achieve members' enjoyment today and bridging into the future. So that, Mr. President, is my report, and I will take any questions from the audience, from the board. Please.
Jim, yeah.
Hi, Jim.
Do I gotta turn that on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm not sure everybody else can.
It's on? Okay. The last thing you want to try to explain again, because you've done it 100 times and some of us just don't get it. You talked about the grant revenue, which is what the government provided during the COVID. And the way you described it just now sounds like we had a surplus. A major part of it was that, as if we didn't spend it.
Right.
That's what it appeared to be, and it sounds like we're then putting in our pockets, in our bank. Is that the right way to say it?
It's a summary of how it all occurred, but
I mean, we don't have to give that back.
we don't have to give it back. No, it is not. It is not. The only way it was to be given back, or could have been given back, is that when we applied for forgiveness,
Yeah.
if we did not prove that we met all the criteria, then some of that loan, at that time it was a loan, it would have had to been returned. But we met all the requirements.
Okay.
We used the money for what we were supposed to use it for. And there is no requirement that says if you come up with a surplus, you have to give it back. That wasn't part of the formula.
Okay.
And we're not unique. This is not unique
I
to
realize
Stonebridge. It's pretty much the same across all the clubs that did receive PPP money and got converted to.
Thanks. So that sounds
It
great,
was
I
forgiven.
guess. For
I
us,
mean,
that's great.
Yeah. So
Thank
it's all good.
Got it.
Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you.
I never thought it'd be tough to follow two accountants. But terrific job. Thank you. Today's annual meeting is a time to celebrate and give thanks. We should celebrate the achievements of this past year and give thanks to those who have helped Stonebridge get to this point. As you just heard from Dave and Phil, Stonebridge remains financially sound and is well prepared to take advantage of the opportunities that will present themselves to us in 2023. Special thanks go to Dave and his Finance Committee for their guidance and expertise, as well as to our General Manager, Tim Jones, and his team for implementing the budgeting procedures needed to help us stay in the black. Arguably, the most important achievement of the year was the passage of the golf course renovation and facilities improvement plan. There are so many people to thank for this design and the passage of this plan, but most importantly, we need to recognize the leadership of Gail Fisher and Tom Pinkerton for bringing to life a plan that will have the most profound impact on the members of Stonebridge since the first shovel went into the ground here more than 25 years ago. Now the job of completing this plan on time and on budget is our priority. And you just heard from the owner's rep, Jeff Nunner, about the steps that have already been taken to get the job done. Jeff will be presenting reports at all of the board meetings going forward, so please plan to attend the meetings or tune in so you can keep track of the progress. There are still many challenges that we need to face in this coming year. Certainly, the most visible will be dealing with the health concerns and the economic impact and fallout from the pandemic that just won't seem to go away. How do we keep our members and staff healthy and safe? How do we ensure that we have enough qualified staff and sufficient supplies to provide the kind of services that members have come to expect? We are very, very lucky to have a board of directors whose members, including our 3 new directors, are talented, knowledgeable about Stonebridge, committed, and prepared to address those challenges. Now let me end my report with some personal reflections, if you don't mind. Growing up in our house, we were always asked at the dinner table, "So what did you learn today?" And as I look back at my last 3 years on the board, I realized that I have learned quite a lot in that time. My education began on the very first day of board orientation when I got my first glimpse of the tremendous amount of work that goes on behind the scenes so that we all can enjoy the Stonebridge experience. Chairing 2 different committees, I quickly became impressed by how many members are dedicated to making this place, quote, a beautiful setting of relaxed elegance and unsurpassed value. I also learned that most issues before us are more complicated than they initially seem to be. Nothing is black and white, nor is it cut and dried. One of the first friendships that I made here after arriving to Stonebridge was a fellow who's sitting back here now, Tony Maglione. He was on the board at the time and, among other things, chaired the Community Standards Committee. Those that know Tony can attest that he is a delightful gentleman, and if he asks you for a favor, it's difficult to say no. Well, he asked if I would serve on the Community Standards Committee, and despite not knowing what exactly that committee did, as a favor, I agreed. Serving on the committee, I met new, interesting people who quickly became more than just neighbors. I learned about the various issues facing each neighborhood within Stonebridge, and that led to an invitation to run for the board. As a board member, my education kicked into overdrive. I learned so much just from listening to my fellow board members, impressed by their knowledge of the issues and by their common sense approach and their dedication to the vision of Stonebridge. My final year as president has given me a rare opportunity to learn more than I ever thought. Each month, I became more impressed with the knowledge of my fellow board members and their dedication to work together in a difficult time. Board members who I now consider more than colleagues, but true friends. And I learned that if you only ask a fellow Stonebridge member to lend a helping hand, they will surprise you by how much more they give you than you expected. So when Tony asked me to join him on the Community Standards Committee, I thought, fine, I'll do it for him. It's a small favor. And over the years, Tony has always expressed his gratitude and thanks. And after some reflection, though, it's clear that he should be not thanking me. I owe him all the thanks. I thank him for the opportunity to learn more and become a better person. So here's the moral of my story. I've just one final request of you, the members. Complete one of those Give Back to Stonebridge forms and volunteer to join one of our committees. Yes, when you give back to Stonebridge, you'll be helping to keep this place a wonderful place of unrivaled, welcoming atmosphere and lifestyle for many years to come. But more than that, you may just get back more than you give. I promise you'll make new friends. I guarantee you'll learn something too. You'll certainly come to understand and appreciate Stonebridge more. I know that the deadline to sign up to give back to Stonebridge has passed, but we'll make exceptions. Don't worry about the deadline. And oh, by the way, you can always thank me later. Thank you for a wonderful year and a wonderful 3 years.
Well, as Mr. Harper said, that's going to be a tough one to follow, so. And actually, it's funny that, that Phil Newman mentioned that about the staffing challenges, because he and I didn't discuss that before. But the board knows, and the future board members know, that that's something that's a big focus of mine, because the staffing challenges right now have never been more severe. And Phil's right. You all play a piece in that, you know, a smile and taking care of the team goes a long way. So in that regard, we have something new that we're introducing this year, which is recognizing the team members that have been with us for 25 years. And I'm proud to say we have 3 with us tonight that have been with us now for over 25 years. We'll start with the newest of the 25, and that would be Eric Peterson. Eric Peterson has been with us since November 15th of 1996. And he is definitely the face of the golf shop operations. He's been the head pro now for about 20 years and with us for over 25 years. Another individual with us tonight is Jason Headley, who started just a few weeks before Eric. He started in October of '96, and I'd say he's definitely the face of the outside services. He's who you see when you come to golf, and often who you see when you leave after a round of golf. And finally, Oscar Barton. Oscar has been with us well over 25 years. In fact, we didn't have this program in place 3 years ago when he passed his 25th year anniversary. Oscar's been with us since May 16th of 1994. So he's been with us nearly 28 years. So we have a little plaque to recognize them, and I'd like to have everyone give them a round of applause. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for, what's that, 78 years all in between the 3 of you, so that's pretty impressive. So thank you very much for all that service. I also want to recognize some of the new team members. We have had some change in our staff, so I wanted to give an opportunity to put a face to the names for some of our new team members. You've probably already met him, but Joe Foster is our new clubhouse manager. They only stand up if it's 25 years. So you have 24 years and about 8 months to go. So Joe oversees all of the food and beverage operations. So the front of the house staff and the back of the house leadership all report through their leadership up to Joe. So Joe covers all food and beverage aspects. He also covers the security. He handles the security and the maintenance of the clubhouse in the area. So welcome to Joe. Another addition is Matthew Moss, who's right there. Again, 24 years and about 10 months, and we'll get you a plaque and a standing O. He's our director of F&B, so he takes care of all the front of the house staff. He takes care of everyone on the service aspect of things. Another new addition to the team over the past year is Mitch Miller. He is He's our golf course and ground superintendent, so he is the right-hand person to Mark Metzger and is a welcome addition to our team. And he actually has a lot of experience with golf course renovations, so it's great to have him on the team as we go through the coming year. And I should also mention that about Joe. Joe's background before hospitality about 20-some years ago was in construction, so he will be a huge asset as we go through the renovation process and the reopening. Chris Phillips is our assistant controller. You almost got a standing ovation. Chris, we tried. So Chris has been with us now for a few months. He's a great addition to the member services office. He's who you talk to if you call about a question on a bill or come in to get a statement. So we welcome Chris. And I joked with him that when he stands up, I'm almost as tall as him when I'm on the stage. So another addition to the member services office is Gabby. Sorry about that, Gabby. Gabby Wagaman. She is the admin assistant, so she actually is at the front desk. She's who you talk to when you call on the phone, and also likely who you see when you come in the office. When Gabby joined us just a few months ago, that was an opportunity for Mary Feskins to become the communications and membership and communications manager. I'll get it right.
How many years have you been here?
She does a lot more than that. So again, going back to what Phil said, my goal is for Stonebridge to be an employer of choice. You know, we really want to keep the team engaged, keep them here, and you all can play a big part in that. And one of the things we have coming up, I'll use this opportunity to make a plug for a survey that we have coming out. You'll see it in tomorrow's Voice. You'll see a lead into it. It will go on live on Monday, this coming Monday. I think that's the 28th of February. You'll have a few weeks to complete it. It's something that we're going to do every year going forward, so we can kind of benchmark against where we are and how we can improve as we go forward over the next few years. So please take the opportunity to fill that out when you receive it. There'll also be prizes and giveaways. So the earlier you fill out the survey, the more chance you have to win some of the prizes. With that, I will turn it over to Mrs. Taylor for the Tom Brooks Award.
Thank you, Tim, and good evening. This year, it was my privilege to serve as the chairperson for the Thomas L. Brooks Outstanding Volunteer Award Committee. Annually, this award is presented to a Stonebridge member who goes above and beyond the call of duty in his or her role as a volunteer. This year, the award committee faced a rather difficult task. There were so many members who participated in the work that led up to the presentation to the members of the Bridging the Future project in November. How could we pick just one member? And keep in mind that the stipulations of the volunteer award state that standing board members are not eligible for the award. These people here. A little background leading up to the work done this year. The 2020 board authorized the creation of 2 ad hoc committees and 1 subcommittee to do all the investigative, planning, and legwork necessary to bring the membership a comprehensive plan to meet the needs of our community going forward. The chairs of those committees, Gail Fisher for the Facilities Improvement Committee, Dave Harper on the Finance Committee, and Tom Pinkerton for the Golf Course Renovation Committee, then reached out to a cross-section of our members to work with them on the various aspects of this project. And those members they asked to step up to the plate and volunteered, knowing that the time required could be extensive. And step up to the plate they did. Meetings, too numerous to count, were held, many on a weekly basis for more than a 10 to 12-month period of time. Each committee member brought his or her thoughts and perspectives to the table for discussion and then, many times, compromise. All aspects of a project of this scope were thoroughly investigated and the financial details were worked out. On-site visits were made to other clubs, giving the committees insight into what others were doing and what our competition looks like. Resumes of the professional contractors, architects, and designers that would be used were compared and references checked. Then interviews were conducted. Input from members was sought regarding the initial design of the golf course. The ad hoc committee studied and prioritized the feedback and gave all suggestions due consideration. Meetings were held with individual members and groups of members to offer further explanation. The final scope of the project was then completely outlined so that the members were fully informed before voting. Detailed drawings and pictures were created and displayed so members could better visualize the project. These 3 committees, working tirelessly and together, presented a project that will update and upgrade our entire campus while keeping our community fiscally sound. The fact that the entire project was approved by the members and is now moving forward today is due primarily to the work of this group of volunteers. The award committee then looked at the list of members who were integrally involved on each ad hoc committee. We soon realized it would be impossible for us to single out just one member of these committees for this year's award. And so it is with a great deal of admiration and gratitude that the award committee is happy to announce that the 2021 Thomas L. Brooks Outstanding Volunteer Award will this year be presented to all of the members of the Ad Hoc Gulf Committee Renovation Project, the Ad Hoc Facilities Improvement Plan, and the Subcommittee of the Finance Committee that developed the financial aspects of the project. Now, part of the problem with this whole award is that we try to keep it a secret. And usually when there's only one awardee, we can check with that person's spouse and make sure that they come to the meeting. Well, we tried to encourage all of the members of the committee to be at the meeting tonight, but I know that they're not all here. But I would like to call those members up by committee to receive their award from Mr. Brooks and be appreciated by the rest of you who are here. So, for the Facilities Improvement Committee, if you would come forward in alphabetical order, Steve Deneen, John Dubrasky, Jackie Flatow, Jim Hole, Becky Inkle, Ines Stribus, and Don Sparaco. Oh my goodness, they're not here. Well, and then if you'll step over there, gentlemen, with Mr. Brooks for a picture. Have a picture. Oh, look at Gabby. There you go.
Feel okay, Tom?
Thank you, gentlemen. And we will make sure that the others receive their plaques. For the Golf Renovation Plan Committee, Mary Jane Brancato, Pam Brown, Bob Henry, Lorraine Castinas, and Joe Morrissey. Yeah, I should have. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. And then last, but obviously not least, the members of the Subcommittee of the Finance Committee, who were Colin Holland, Ken Lopez, Howard Nottingham, and Warren Rupel. Oh, yeah. Great, thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Okay, the order now says member comments. So any questions, comments, congratulations, criticisms, et cetera, you'd like, just please come on up to the mic so we can all hear you, and we'll do our best to answer. And identify yourself, please. Thanks.
My name is John Zespin. I live in Hawthorne Estates. I got two concerns here concerning our community. The first concerns the rules and regulations. When I moved here in 2002, we were given a binder that had all the rules and regulations in them, and they were updated periodically. The last one that I received to that binder was in 2015, 2016. From then on, the contents of any changes were available online. My concern about the rules and regulations, these changes are made and we never know about any changes are made. We're not notified that changes will be made, and these changes are made by individuals, maybe committees, but we never know who makes the changes, but they are made to the rules and regulations that we're all governed by. And these changes affect the entire community, maybe some of the things that we're doing within our home or what we want to do within the Stonebridge community. An example of some of this that it has affect people are the pool cage, the color, white from bronze, was not notified. But, and people put up white cages and a short time later bronze were. But people with white cages live with it for 20 plus years now. And that was an expensive deal. The other are storm shutters changed. All of a sudden they're changed and you never know about it until you read it in the rules and regulations if you want to do something. The house paint color, painting your house, landscaping, color of roofs. There were one criteria where you couldn't have the same color roof alongside each other, and all of a sudden, roofs of the same color were appearing. We never knew that was coming about. Another thing is, this is all have caused concern on different homeowners. In certain areas, I was one of the ones that had concern. When rules and regulations are changed, I think the community ought to be notified that there's going to be a change and have an input, because we're the ones who live under these rules and regulations, and we're not right now not having an input into changes to the rules and regulations. Yeah, they're made by a change, maybe by one member of a committee, or one committee itself, or maybe by a board member. I don't know. I know it says in there who's supposed to change it or approve it, but we don't know. It's not done in an open fashion. And my second concern has to do with the town hall meetings that we had for the renovation. The last town hall meeting was organized, called, and I looked up the definition of a town hall meeting. It's where the public, in which it talks of a politician or a public official is there to answer questions from members of the public or members of our association. When this did not happen at our town hall meeting. The town hall meeting took place, a presentation was given to the membership and they were given a period of time in which they could ask a question. Well, that period of time was very limited to the members, and sometimes the members were cut off. But at the announcement of the town hall meeting, you were said if you couldn't attend, you could send questions in. I sent a question in, it was never addressed. The only questions that were addressed were taken at the very first time when the finance was given. Some of the questions that were sent in were addressed at that time. From that point on, not one of the questions that were sent in were addressed. I raised the question why they were not being read, and my answer was, which questions you sent in? Like you wanted an answer. Other people sent in questions. Everybody wants their question answered. So what it turned out, everybody who sent a question in that didn't attend the meeting was disenfranchised by the leadership, by the chairman of the committee. There was one member who wanted to address the membership at this meeting, and apparently he had gone to the leadership, the chair or somebody, and he was told he would have time. When he attempted to address the membership, they wouldn't listen, and they became rowdy and booed him. It was the chair's responsibility to settle this audience on down, and the chair failed in this responsibility to give the member a chance to talk. And then at the end of the meeting, when there were more questions to be asked at the very last presentation, it just went into chaos. Food was being served outside. People were getting up, walking in and out with drinks in their hand, food in their hand. They were talking. Some show was going on. A Fly With Me was going on. People were standing at the mic here wanting to ask questions to somebody, and there was nobody here to answer their questions. I want to say it was very poorly handled. I was disappointed to see that our membership and a leader of our membership let a meeting deteriorate such as it has. That's a very major concern, and I hope that it never happens again.
All right, thank you, John. Let me just make two comments, if I would. Let's first go to the rules and regulations. There are procedures in place that are strictly followed before a rule or regulation is proposed. It comes at the committee level. It may come from members who say this ought to be done. It may come from industry standards that are changed, et cetera. And when that committee fully debates that issue, they bring it to the full board. They have a conversation about it at the board. They pass or fail resolutions or rules and regs, whichever it's called, at that particular time. All of those meetings, the board meetings specifically, are open to the full membership at any time and are notified. You can always go back to the minutes of those meetings and read every resolution that's passed or discussed. So your first premise that these are secretly done and no one knows. Now, we certainly could promote what rules and regulations have been changed in the various publications like The Voice, et cetera, but there's a lot of information that's out there and it's easily obtained. With regard to the town hall, the design of the town hall, I don't know where the definition comes where they refer to politicians. That's only an example. The clubs like ours are responsible for having town halls as one way of gathering information from the membership, their opinions, et cetera, and to have an open discussion about those things. So that was clearly put out there, and we were presenting specifically the two sections of the plan, the golf plan and the facilities improvement plan. When questions came up, we tried to restrict those questions to that particular section in which we talked about. And the gentleman that you're talking about was clearly interested in referring to some historical things, some secret meetings that people had over the years, et cetera. And he said, I only have 7 more minutes. Well, that was being rude to the entire population in the room. Now, I can't control the audience. I'm the bad guy that was standing here trying to control everything. I can't control when the audience says that's enough, and we politely tried to have him sit down. With regard to your questions, we took all the questions that we could, we put them together to make sure that those questions were answered either during the presentation or afterwards, so that your questions may have been similar to somebody else's questions, and that's how we responded. All of those questions were sent back via email, and if we missed something like that, I apologize, and if you want to bring up those questions and still have them somewhere in your information, we'd be happy to write back to you and answer those particular questions. Any other questions?
I know Tim's going to know what this is all about. My name is Ron Heinsroth, and I live at Hawthorne here in Stonebridge. Other than financing this project, will there be any participation of the members in the architectural planning and the actual construction of these facilities?
What do you mean by actual construction?
Well, building it, building the buildings, redoing, not particularly the golf course, but I spent my entire life in the construction industry, and I feel that I might have something to add or to help. And I just wonder if there are going to be any participation by us in the actual construction.
Let me yield to Tim on that. Sure.
So, as we talked about before, the appropriate avenue was to fill out the Give Back to Stonebridge form,
Yes.
and that could be given to the appropriate committees. We're still working through what the process is going to be as far as committee input as we go through the next phase. And I know you've submitted the form, Mary's put it into the spreadsheet, and the board will get that on Friday.
Okay, I just wanted to know if there was going to be a committee or what kind of participation it was going to be.
The next board, that's one of the things that they're going to be
Okay.
talking about is what that committee structure is going to look like.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep, sure thing.
Any other questions? Any sub? Okay, great. All right. Right here. I now have the pleasure of introducing the three new directors. Although their first official day of work begins at the end of this meeting, they have already started their jobs, and I know you will be impressed by their credentials and happy to have them represent you. A few weeks ago, we held a Meet the New Board Members session online so members could learn more about these extraordinary people. And if you didn't see this, please jump onto the YouTube, search for Stonebridge, and watch this very interesting and informative session to learn more about these three people. And let me start alphabetically with Bill Burnett. And if Bill's here, he could stand, make him uncomfortable for a minute. Bill and his wife Jody live in the Thornbrook neighborhood and have been members of Stonebridge since 2013. For the last 2 years, Bill has served on the Communications and IT Committee, and he was tremendously helpful to me in getting the word out to the membership about the golf course renovation and facilities improvement plan. Bill's corporate life began with IBM, and he has worked for a number of computer and IT companies over the years, focusing on sales and communication issues. And apparently, Bill doesn't know how to retire because when he and Jody are back in Colorado, he's an adjunct professor at Colorado Mountain College, and you guessed it, an adjunct professor of communications. Welcome, Bill. Howard Nottingham is next. There's Howard. Howard and his wife, Sandra, live in Hawthorne and have been members of Stonebridge for 6 years. For the past 3 years, Howard served, as you already heard, on the Finance Committee and was asked to chair a working group focusing on the financial details of the golf course renovation and facilities improvement plan. His expertise and insight have been invaluable during the design phase of this plan, and we're counting on him to keep his pencil sharpened and at the ready as we go into the implementation phase. A graduate of Indiana University, this Hoosier has spent 37 years in commercial real estate, mostly in Manhattan. Welcome, Howard. And Kathy Rushock is here. Front row, very good. Kathy and her husband Paul live in Hawthorne full-time and have been members of Stonebridge for the past 6 years. With a PhD in counseling psychology from the University of Missouri in Columbia, Dr. Rushock, although it says here I'm supposed to call her Kathy, has spent over 30 years in the field of counseling psychology in Missouri and in California. Since coming to Stonebridge, Kathy has been extremely busy. She's served on the Communications and IT Committee and the Strategic Planning Committee. She is also active with the Stonebridge Book Club, having co-chaired their book sale twice, and has made and continues to make a number of presentations during their meetings. We welcome Kathy's expertise and energy to the Stonebridge Board. Happy to have you here. All right. I am now to introduce Sandy Fleming.
Last but not least, I'll try to be quick. I have the privilege of honoring our 3 board members whose term is up today. The first person I'm going to talk about is Tom Pinkerton. I first met him 8 years ago during the last renovation. He was attending his first Green Committee meeting, and that was in 2014. Since then, he has brought his expertise and knowledge of golf and the golf course to both the Green Committee and then in 2017 to the Golf and Green Committee. In 2019, he was elected to the Board of Directors and continued to serve on the Golf and Green Committee as vice chair, and in 2020, he became the chair of the committee and continues today. In 2021, Tom chaired the Golf Course Renovation Planning Subcommittee. Tom led the subcommittee and handled the challenges with patience and grace. When the original plan was presented by the architects 2 years prior, all of the homeowners loved the plan and were excited with the renovation possibility. But when the cost came in and when homeowners realized all the changes that were suggested, like moving water and berms, many homeowners became alarmed. Tom spent countless hours meeting with concerned members and explaining the plans and reasons for the changes. Due to his many hours of hard work, the renovation passed. Please accept this gift of our appreciation for all your contributions to Stonebridge. Gail Fisher is an extraordinary woman with many talents. She first served on the Strategic Planning Committee in 2017. When she was elected to the Board of Directors in 2019, she became the chair of the committee and has served as its chair for the past 3 years. While serving on Strategic Planning Committee, she was instrumental in fine-tuning and analyzing the last 2 member surveys. From 2017 to 2019, she was a member of the Master Site Plan Ad Hoc Committee. This committee spent countless hours listening to members' comments about facilities renovations, which led to her chairing the Facilities Planning Subcommittee this past year. She and her committee worked hundreds of hours to give Stonebridge a superior plan far beyond the scope needed for the vote. Gail was instrumental in writing the Bridging in the Future updates. Her dedication to the project helped us get a majority of homeowners to say yes. While serving on the board, Gail was also vice president from 2020 to 21. She was vice chair of the Communications and IT Committee and participated in this decision to bring hot wire to Stonebridge. She also served on the Hearing Committee and the Grievance Committees for 2 years in her spare time. Please accept this gift of a small token of our appreciation. Mr. President, what would Stonebridge have done without you this year? Not only were we going through plans for a vote for a major renovation, but your leadership helped us get through a pandemic like we've never seen in our lifetime. Jim and Tim handled the challenges together to give Stonebridge the most current and up-to-date information about COVID over the past year, with over 100 health updates to keep us informed. He also led the board in making decisions about the club events and closures and to help the well-being of all the members and staff. Jim Carroll worked tirelessly this past year, not only as president of the board, but chaired the Facilities Improvement Planning Committee. With his leadership, along with Dave Harper, Tom Pinkerton, and Gail Fisher, the vote for the golf course and facilities renovation was a huge success. Jim met with any homeowner who had questions and wrote many letters of explanation. Jim's first 2 years on the board, he vice-chaired, then chaired Tennis and Fitness Committee, as well as chairing Community Standards. Prior to serving on the board, Jim also served for 2 years on Community Standards. Please accept this small token of our appreciation for graciously serving these past 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enough. Hearing no opposition, we motion to adjourn. Is that all right? Thank you all for coming. It's been a great time, and onward and upward. Bar is open.